Boop.
Boop. That's my spawn in sound.
That was exactly right. Yeah. All right. Welcome, folks. Welcome to the chat, the Tech Audio chat. That last minute ad is just because David came in during the video, during the song.
You know, Australia just takes a little bit longer to
It's true.
sort of spawn in, and
yeah, there's a lot more things that spawn in Australia than I think other parts of the world.
I was joking about this just the other day because a Californian friend of mine has been saying, yeah, but I can't come to Australia because it's too dangerous. And I was like, it's not that dangerous. It's fine. And then last week I went to hospital for a spider bite and I was like, okay, all right. Well, I'll lose a little bit of that argument, I think.
Yeah, we have in the US, we have 4 spiders that are classified by the CDC as clinically significant. And most people only know about names. The top 2.
Like all 4 of them and where
I do know all 4 of them. Yeah, that's because I had a infestation apartment that I rented a long time ago. And
sounds terrible.
That's bad. That sounds like a level in Diablo.
Yeah. I mean, hey, that's college, right?
So, Dan, you're saying you would feel comfortable going to Australia?
No, that's incorrect. Yeah.
I think if an infestation of spiders happens in Australia, we just find another country.
Just instantly move.
There's no way around it,
Yeah, it's the black widow and the brown recluse, which are the top 2 people know about, and then it's the hobo spider.
Oh, rough,
I know, and the yellow sac spider.
Yellow sac spider.
Yeah. They're like sort of neonish yellow with like little black tips on their legs.
Gotcha.
And they have sort of bulbous body similar to a black widow.
Gotcha.
And the black widow and the yellow sac spider are both systemic. Their toxin is systemic. And the brown recluse and the hobo spider are necrotic.
Oh.
So the flesh just starts decaying around just dies.
This is a lovely topic to start.
Welcome to Tech Audio Chat. Y'all,
hey, you said systemic, Tech Audio over there.
Y'all got in on the spider talk. Yeah. Hey, welcome to the neurodivergent talk. Where we talk about stuff.
Pretty much. Yep.
Welcome. We've got Stephen Lawless as usual. Not taken for granted, however. Always appreciated. And Crisp. Is it Crisp P or is it Crisp?
I think that's a bit of a nickname for people that are crisp peas, isn't it? You just call them crispy.
Like crispy. Yeah. Good evening. Yeah. So I put this year I put titles. I started title cards with titles on them for the thing, but I don't want to come up with a name for the thing all the time. And so this is what's basically a show and tell night or a show and share night or a share and tell night. Which I just call a salon night because it's like all highfalutin. Yeah, Chris confirms it's both. So there you go.
Perfect.
There you go.
Yeah, sometimes I think it's worth, if you've ever got tech people around, or even just doing this with your company, or if you get a chance to do this with other engineers. Like, I know this is a sort of a pub night for me, is go and you inevitably start talking about tech ideas and sharing things. And we all work in this world of heavy NDAs and or maybe you want to work in this world of heavy NDAs and be able to tell your friends like in in 3 to 5 years, you're going to be like, wow, you worked on that. But there's also, I think, ways that we can share things that aren't related to work and aren't related to NDAs, and is truly just ideas and sharing. And I know the thing that I'm going to talk about is not being used anywhere, is not pitched as a tool for use anywhere. But it's something that is always worth getting like a bit of a taste test, because I think especially in tech audio, if you're like a very tools oriented tech audio person, because not everybody is. Some people are like, I would consider like maybe creative audio tech people, which is like, I do the tech to just get the sound working the way I want it to, and that's sort of all I'm interested in. Or there's people that are more on the tool side of like, I want to build huge systems that people use. And I know I'm probably leaning more on that side lately, at least on the project I'm on at the moment. And I feel like when I can think of a tool for ages and ages and really feel like I've considered it all and flowcharted it all, and then I show a designer and they're like, oh yeah, why could it do this instead? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. Or I'm like, oh, I don't know why it would, but the fact that you think it should is telling me that you would probably want it to do something else or misuse it or something.
I feel like that that interaction was a huge motivation for me to get more and more into the tech side of things, because someone invariably would make something and I would want more of it, or I'd want something slightly different, like everything there, but this one thing changed. Or wouldn't it be cool if I started a lot of sentences like that. And they, at some point, they very rightly push back and be like, no. We don't have time for that, or that's crazy, or I get that's crazy a lot. I feel like that was a huge motivator for me to sort of push in more into seeing if I do it myself, then maybe that's I don't need to. I can ask myself, wouldn't that be crazy if?
Well, the funny thing there, I remember pitching this tool really, really early, was like, I wanted to hear when raindrops hit a pipe. I wanted to be like, oh, maybe if it hits a really long pipe, like the raindrops should be quieter or something. And it's just one of those things where, yes, it was a cool idea, but the asset count would have gone up dramatically with it, with the system. And so it's one of those ones where you can make a really cool system because it's really cool and it can do a lot. But then you start thinking like, if I make this, I have to do material interactions, or a designer has to do material interactions for 30 interactions for every object now in the world, and we're really signing up for this huge asset load that, like, I just felt like it would be cool, and it might be very cool, but it's one of those like really frustrating things where you're like, is it cool enough for us to focus on this instead of something else?
I have always been a proponent of undirected research. I think that there's a lot of value in exploring for the sake of it, to learn more, to discover. And I really recently I was in a conversation where I was referencing some of the crazy stuff that I did with the spline distance fields and stuff like that. Like that informed a discussion at work, this morning or yesterday or something like that. And so I feel like there's always value in that exploration part of the process, not because there's going to be a practical solution right away, but because there's an experiential growth component, and there's a kind of experience of just like, oh, this is very similar to an idea I had that didn't have practical application, but this might be one of the, there is sort of like, we're building tools and we're building systems that are weird sized hammers with maybe no nails apparent in the vicinity. But someday we might come across a nail. It's like, oh, wow, I have the perfect hammer for this nail.
Just keeping up with new tech and following the trends and staying with the times a bit.
Sorry, say that again?
It's good to stay on top of the latest tech and being aware of what's up and coming as far as new ideas? Or
it's funny too, because one person doing something very passionately can be worth a lot more than that person doing many small things with less passion or with less time, like just being able to sort of do them again. Like, it's totally fine, and you've got to get the work done however you need to get it done. But I feel like those big sort of genre steps that we take in the industry, where we find this new feature, like, I mean, probably the most obvious one in terms of visibility that I think most people in games know about is bubble space, right? It's in a thing where it's the acoustics of a space or a place. And I think basically everybody that ever wants to do something will reference bubble space and say, well, like, they sort of did this. Have you heard of this? And that was really a person deciding that, hey, what if we just keep going? What if we try more and try some different systems and think about it more and keep sort of iterating on it? And everyone can iterate on the same ideas, but sometimes they come from different disciplines. Like, I spend a lot of time in Niagara because I think particle systems have this inherent relationship to audio systems, with like many positions in space that need to know about things and the space they're in, and they're in a really different space to audio and how audio works. But I find that I learn heaps of fun ideas from tech art that I hadn't, doesn't have an implicit application in audio straight away until you start doing something with, a certain type of vertex animated texture, and you're like, oh, I know how I could put an audio thing in here. It's just a pixel that I'd need to flag. And I think until you do these sort of presentations where you're just trying things, you might not ever get the opportunity to have the idea. Like, you might just be working on a game that just doesn't require that idea, so you just don't think of it, and then you just go through the career in games, because these titles are often very long. Like, you might work on one game for 3 to 5 years. That's that problem set is basically your problem set for 3 to 5 years. And if you aren't keeping up with the latest tech, or someone else tries to solve it in a different way, you might end up just kind of shrugging your shoulders and saying, we just have to do it this way because this is what we have,
Well, and now with games as a service, that some folks are, they're on decades at the same project, and a lot of there are plenty of projects that aren't keeping up with tech because they're they are so old, like that maybe they're 10, 20 years old. And they're there's a lot of fundamental framework that isn't compatible or will require a great reconfiguration or something, whatever. And so there's a sort of pushback or the can kick down the road to sort of adopt new tech.
And that's tricky too, because the older something gets, the more pieces it might be to move. And even if it's something as simple as a few code changes make it work, but someone's going to need to update all the assets from step 1 to step 2, or rename them or change them, and that can be something where like the original ones don't exist anymore, or you don't have the copyright for them, or you don't have the license to do that, or whatever it might be. And it's one of those really tricky things where or you've just lost them. Sometimes people just lose files and can't find them, or person leaves, or computer gets destroyed or sold, or whatever it might be. It can be really hard for server related things to even change.
Yep. I have colleagues who are working on some old titles like that are hitting their second decade. Some folks are worried about that, especially some of the ones who've been on projects for a long time, that they like, if because it's a volatile industry, we always worry about our resumes, all that sort of stuff. And it could be that, hey, you suddenly find yourself in a workplace worker marketplace where you're behind by 5 years in terms of the sort of tech expectation, for new
especially
projects.
If you're working on like a project that has something very idiomatic that only really applies to that setup or something, or that engine, could be really tricky. Like it's great having Unreal or Unity or Frostbite or whatever engine you have. It's great having the experience, but there can very easily be a switch that's flipped that says that you need a different engine's experience. And sometimes that transition's easy. Like I wouldn't say if you're doing, maybe some asset design, it's probably not going to hurt you too much swapping from Wise to Fmod. But obviously that's maybe downplaying it. Obviously there's some big issues with doing that change, but it's not impossible. But if you find that like all of your tool set kind of gets lumped into one place, it's a little bit like the music industry with Native Instruments going into insolvency the last week, whatever. That was something that has bought a lot of companies along the way, and people are yes, it will probably get bought out and kept running by some hedge fund somewhere, but let's pretend that it doesn't, because not all software lasts forever. We've lost a lot more software than we have now, and there is a chance that your isotope licenses won't work anymore, and your future contact patches won't work with the new OS or whatever, and you're just going to have to find a new way to make sounds and a new way to use new plugins and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I have a suspicion there's still a lot of composers out there. Maybe not a lot of composers, but like a fair amount of composers who are still running Giga Studio on cheese grater Macs. So.
Yep, I remember the first time I went to Remote Control, which is Hans Zimmer's facility, and I went there probably like 10, 12 years ago when we were like being shipped around as interns, and they were working on Dunkirk at the time, and he was showing us like the Pocket Watch sampler, and the sampler was running in Logic 6 or Logic 7, and like Logic 10 was out at the time. So it's like at least 10, 12 years behind. And he was like, I was like, oh, he was explaining how you couldn't do a type of looping thing in Contact. And I was like, yeah, you can. And he's like, well, no, it's not possible. I was like, yeah, we're in like Contact 5. And he's like, oh, we got Contact 2. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And that used to be a thing, though. It used to be a lot more permanent. It used to be like you bought a machine, you updated to that level of OS, you never updated the OS again. Yeah. You never updated any of the plugins, any of the software. Even game engines used to be like this as well, where it's like you started in UE 4.17 and you shipped in UE 4.17. We didn't waste time updating every couple of months. Whereas now it feels like every new update that comes out, most studios want to grab that update because they're trying to fix something else that they're doing, because it's not all new features. It's often, a lot of fixes to old stuff too.
I feel like that is a larger, like, endemic thing to products as a continuous service rather than a like shipped,
just a requirement to be doing updates kind of thing.
Yeah, like I think it's the expectation that it's okay. Like you don't have to go through stringent quality assurance in the same way that maybe you used to, because there's going to be a patch or day one patches, like I mean, like there's just a sort of, maybe it's part of internet connectivity, right? Like there is a kind of assumption that all of your customers are connected to high-speed internet and can download updates. I don't know. I feel like I feel like it didn't used to be that way. I felt like there was a little bit more of a quality assurance process on software design in general.
Mm. You want to see some broken software then?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we all have something we want to share. I don't think they're any related at all. What I have to share is a hammer without a nail. It's I'm sort of exploring it, but yeah, it's some stuff that no one asked for, and go ahead. What do y'all have to share?
I have my demo from GameSoundCon, which
That's
is
cool.
Using a bunch of widgets as a Metasound preset widget for. I have a little. It's called a mini chord. It's basically a pocket-sized omnichord synth, and this does a MIDI output that I can send from the device into a Metasound using the preset widget. And
this is the video you shared out recently, right?
Yeah, I did the videos from last year when I made it, and then I just shared it after we launched the plugin. So yeah, I've got that on deck.
Cool. David, what do you got?
I've got a VO sort of I don't know what it is, a visual conversation scripting sort of tool. I know that lots of these things exist, and it's not about audio specifically. This one's not going to be playing audio because it's just text to speech
More
stuff.
like a narrative. Oh, okay.
But it's
Like a narrative tool.
Narrative tool, yeah. In terms of conversations, I've been playing with this idea of conversation design for chatter in the world, sort of stuff. And I would just love some opinions about where it could sort of fall down. There's just parts of. I know we're not narrative designers, but I feel like it's still cool.
Yeah. No, I mean, we are often slapped
we're
with
definitely
narrative design.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's like dialogue and narrative. There's always a heavy audio involvement, whether it's really, really tool driven and you think like, oh, there's no need to do any more audio stuff. And then there's always like some audio designer that's at the back like, hey, by the way, I have to like hand edit all of those lines. So maybe please don't do that, And so I feel like there's ways that we could embrace that understanding that that's going to happen and be involved as part of it. And it's also just like trying to learn how to make graph tools, and that was challenging but very cool.
I have questions about that, but before that, I want to sort of do a callback on we were talking about referencing, like finding inspiring talks or whatever, where it's like, and then you try it out on your own, or you expand on it or whatever. And like classic is that Valve ambient dialogue.
Yep.
Chat, right. So I'm really interested to see what sort of your thought process is on that. I think I actually did a prototype for the Matrix Awakens experience. There was some like early explorations with having like NPC ambient dialogue, and so I actually did prototype an ambient dialogue system.
Yeah, awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really curious about. And then also, I'm really curious about. You said it was graph based. Is it that tutorial on EdGraph? And did you?
It might be.
It
might be part of it.
Because I have that pinned also. So yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I mean, I guess we'll talk about it more when I go to show it, because graph-based tools have a lot of very spooky tech debt implications. I think it's because it is an editor tool and it's in a really odd space, and there's lots of changes in parts of frameworks that are unrelated to you. So there's definitely like some Slate stuff that could sort of mess me around, but I think, I don't know, it's been interesting. I think, like you said, sometimes you just got to build stuff because you see it in a talk and you're like, yeah, okay, all right, let me try to see what happens there. I mean, we're so lucky, I think, to have talks on 90% of the topics that are talked about. You sit there going, I can't believe I get to see the Borderlands sound designers talking about how they do pitch shifting, and you go like, oh my god, I would have had to work with them to get that information, and instead I get to just sit here and watch them and go like, oh, so did you find problems with volume? And then they go, oh, it's driven by volume, and you go, of course. And I found Game SoundCon, I mean, not just being there in person, but the online version of it, which I've been to for many years, always has me walking away with like, oh, okay, I want to build that, because I think this is partly driven by an Insomniac thing that they did for Spider-Man, not for dialogue, but for their material interactions. They built a graph tool that would do some of these things, and so I've sort of been hankering to do that. Let's go with your thing first, though. I don't want to jump over the top of you.
I think we should go with Eric's thing first.
Perfect.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so I thought I would have a clever way to turn off the EV mux, like the audio. So I think you're going to have to mute yourselves while I share my audio.
Wait, I thought you had your laptop.
Yeah, but the project's on my desktop. I was going to switch over so I could talk to you on my laptop, but I think I'll just do a quick demo.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So
That's cool.
Oh, but if you want, we could use your laptop for talking during the demo, and then right,
well,
and then you
I
just
would have to mute you in my desktop somehow, and I don't think there's a way that I can do that.
That's right. We can just
Yeah.
mute, and then
you
you
can
just
just
let us know
you
when.
can just set your audio settings to, I think, nothing, right? The output could be set to nothing.
Oh, let's try that. I don't see nothing, but I could set it to something else.
Yeah. Do you want to do? Should I add your laptop?
I'm gonna switch to my AirPods so I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay.
And
should I do this? There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear both of you now.
You should get another camera.
Right. Okay, so I muted my mic. I'm going to mute the desktop audio now. So audio output, I'm just going to change it to, I've got like voice meter, and maybe I just dump it in one of those and hope it's not feeding into something else. And then I'm going to share my screen with audio.
Should I remove your desktop camera?
In a sec, yeah. I'll okay. Post up my screen.
All right. Should I swap them out? Here, we'll do this one.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so can you hear that?
No.
Am I sharing audio?
No, I cannot hear it.
Okay, let me try sharing it again. Maybe I share system audio. I think I forgot that.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, there's a little bit of latency for me, but it's not like I need to be super precise. So if you're not familiar with like the style of this thing, it's got like these rows of buttons, and each button plays a chord. So the top row will play like a major, and we got minor, diminished. And if I do like combinations, you can get like some jazzy stuff. And then this little touchpad over here, you just drag your finger across, and it's like the harp, what the manual says. And then I can there's buttons on the side here. I can change like the intervals between. So that one has like kind of an alternating pattern.
Nice.
And there's knobs for controlling like the volume of kind of both halves of the instrument. I'm not using them for what I've got into the meta sound. It would be cool to hook it up as like a control parameter for one of these knobs or something. But if you make the meta sound or make my desktop bigger, I can show the widget I've made, which is kind of, it's not how I designed it. Really, like I shrank my desktop resolution so that it would appear nice on the stream because I've got an ultra wide. So it's kind of messed up looking, but you get the idea. Basically, I've made a couple different sections for the harp, and then the buttons for the chord. And then I also added a fusion patch
Nice.
for drums. And oops, I just messed that up.
Those are also some handsome widgets, let me just say. The widgets themselves look really slick.
I mean, this stuff's all included in TechAudioTools content, except for the piano on the left. That one is not in there. I just threw it together really fast. I'm not happy with it.
It looks great.
Yeah. Oh no, I was actually going to say super, super dodgy. Just horrible. Yeah.
But it lights up when I play, and I wanted to kind of visualize what's happening.
How is maybe that's unrelated, but getting MIDI into this? How does that happen?
I'll after I'll do like a kind of run through of everything, and then we'll look at the blueprint.
Sweet.
Because I've got there's a MIDI plugin that I enabled, and then I can pass those events into the meta sound. Okay. I honestly have to remember how I did it because I couldn't tell you right now.
This is so cool. I'm sorry. This is so awesome.
So just to demo, like these knobs all do stuff. if I wanted like more of a square sound, I could change the mix on that, and now we can
That's
add
cool.
delays.
Yeah, that's so nice.
I've got like a plate reverb that's on like a master bus, so I can. I don't really want that. And then I've got the drums. So if I press play, oh yeah, look at that. We got nice 4 on the floor. It's really latent for me. I can't play on the beat.
This guy was a percussionist. What happened?
Because I'm listening through the internet to it's like massive loopback. And I can edit the pattern in real time, like if I wanted. There's auto save.
You're auto save.
Doing that in real time is really cool, though.
And I can like fade stuff in. So yeah, that's kind of how it works.
If you slow the tempo down, and you could go for like an ambient vibe, and then the latency would be like a feature.
That's true. Yeah, that's. Oops.
It's great.
This is really cool. Oh my god.
It's fun. It's fun just to play around with it. I did like a whole 5-minute kind of set just playing around with it. It's not really nothing musically exciting, but I wanted to show off kind of some of the things you can do in a preset widget, and live performance is one of them. So
yeah, this layout is also really cool. Like the way that you've organized stuff, where it like stubs the meter and the fader. Is really slick.
Yeah, I in like a regular resolution, like there's only 2 rows usually. I don't know why it's like going down to a third. I probably have like a max width or something for it, and then now it's wider or something. I don't know, but I guess we can start looking at the widget. And maybe I flip my audio back over to my desktop because
I think that's a good idea.
Probably sounds better. So
I'll swap you back. And Eric, you might need to. I don't know if you can hear me. Eric, you might need to reshare. Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you because I was changing my settings back. Can you hear me? Is everything good?
Yeah, we can hear you, but you'll need to reshare your screen so that we don't get the slide back.
You're right.
Yeah, it's interesting how much more usable a patch gets with just a few controls like that. Because if you were showing me like the meta sound that's underneath this, it'd be like really frustrating to try and you'd have to twiddle a bunch of dials and keep moving up and down and around just to
actually
get this.
Can we see the meta sound first? I think it'd be really cool to see to sort of David's point, like what are we controlling, and what are we getting out of this UI work?
Yeah, so let me find. This is got all the tabs closed because I like just having the widget. So okay, so here's the layout. I've got all of my 4 chord voices, one for presumably each of the synth types. And so I've got knobs for, I don't know, what was it? Oh, these are all Omni actually no, they're super oscillators. So I've got like 4 voices going into a mixer, and that's controlled by, this is like the big fader.
Right.
I've got effects on that, just a few different things. I've got 4 different voices for the harps, and that's just so I can have like
are they the same
polyphony.
Are they same or different synth layouts, like the voice
These are all
design?
the same, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I think I just wanted to have polyphony and not have my tails getting cut off.
Right.
Similar effects chain there. And then I've got the drum sequence. This is where I've got the asset for, what's it called? The MIDI step sequence asset. And I have this just inserted into the widget as like a, what's it called? Just I think it's a details view or something.
Yeah.
Details
Like
view widget.
this.
And you
I
point
did
it
not know
to
you could do that. That's so cool.
yeah, any asset that has its own custom editor or even just a default editor, it'll show up the same as it is in a details panel. So it's a super nice widget, and it's nice that this details view has like customization, so you can actually do the editing with a grid and all that. And I didn't have to roll my own like beat grid layout widget.
Yeah. This step sequencer is from the Harmonix
Yes.
plugin.
Yeah.
And so that's being fed into the step sequence player. And I've just got like a MIDI clock generator that I can change the tempo also on the widget. I was playing around with the pages, and so I could have like different presets of drum sequences that I could just hit a button and go to the next one or something. But
Right.
didn't really finish that. And then here is the drum sounds, courtesy of Dan. It's the
this is my DRM samples. Great.
Yes, that you gave me to use for Game Sound Con.
Yeah.
And I don't recall doing any tweaking of the settings in here. I think really I just changed the key zones to be so that they all had like a unique key.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. And then here's where that master plate reverb is, and then just a master output. You'll notice though that I've got some of these audio bus writers on each of these different layers. So there's one for the chords, one for the harp, and one for the drums, as well as one for the master. And that's how I was getting the meters.
Nice.
Are receiving information from those audio buses using an audio analyzer that I set up. And if I look at one of these widgets, you can see I broke this up so that I could just copy paste this widget 4 times, one for each section. And I've got a named slot in here. So on my main widget, I could just add stuff and like kind of fill it up inside of here. It's like a container widget, right? So I could reuse kind of this shell and then fill it up with just the knobs. And so the meter itself and the analyzer is on each of these. So I only had to set it up once, which is really nice. And so I had in here the analyzer audio bus, and then I think I just needed a submix for just to make the analyzer. But in here, if I go to the outer widget, you can see I have my audio bus for the chords, and then I've got the audio bus for the harp on this one. And like I can change the color like with one. I thought I had it set up so that everything is like using the same accent color. Maybe I have to recompile or something. But so David, your question was about the analyzer?
The MIDI.
The MIDI. Yeah, so that is handled in the main widget here. Yes. Okay. So the plugin that I used was, there's 2 of them, and I enabled them both. I think I'm just using MIDI device support. And so all I had to do is call find MIDI devices. And this is a very non-robust way of doing it. I think if I were to recommend someone go about making something similar to this, it'd be better to have like a separate MIDI manager, like subsystem, or like just some other way that is not inside of the widget itself. Because if I open multiple preset widgets or something, this breaks because you can only have it the device on one widget.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
For like like a MIDI subscription
Or just a
where like a
router, you know?
subsystem, can like broadcast MIDI events to many consumers.
Yeah, and then anything could listen. You could have multiple patches that all listen to the same instrument or different instruments with the same effects or different ones.
Yeah. And so I had I was having some issues with this stuff, but I was printing the names of my devices, or of all
Can
the
you
devices.
zoom in just a tiny bit more? We can't quite see the text.
Yeah, how's that? Better?
That's better.
Okay. So the easiest way to see like the name of your device is just to print the names of every device that it finds, and then go into logs and just pluck out the MIDI devices that you want to listen to. And so my device has one device for like the chords and one device for the harp. And so
those are individual ports.
yes.
Yeah. One thing that I have done in the past is fill a combo box with it, so that you get the list, and then you can kind of sort of select between them.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Anyway, so then I'm just binding to the MIDI note on and MIDI note off for both of these. And so for the harp, we'll go for instance, and I did not try and do this cleanly, but I ended up just converting the MIDI note that came into a Metasound literal, and passed it in the Metasound, and sent a trigger to like actually play the note. Oh, where did I do that? Down here. I'm like coming into this after 2 months of not having looked at it. So it's hard to talk through it actually. This is just for the view model. So that's what I'm using view model to update light up the keys.
Right. That's cool.
And so I convert the literal I convert the note into something in the. Let's go to that widget. Actually, I'm curious. Prefer sharps or flats. Set the key height. So everything's like in the view model bindings, I think. And so I ended up getting just a list of all of the inputs that I wanted in a certain range. I think I have a.
Those bindings are deceptively simple. When the arrays they're always sneaky, but yeah.
Cool. So I think I just have it here so that I can edit it in this layout. I can change the key height, and now like I have options here that will, if it recompiles nicely, it might crash.
Okay. What's the parent widget for the keyboard? Is it like a list or something? What is it?
Yeah, I'm just using a list.
That's wild.
And so I forget how I had a way to like specify a MIDI note range of like how many keys do I want to show from which note to which note and stuff. It's all in here somewhere, but now I'm lost. That's basically the setup for MIDI. Oops, I keep going back, and I want to go to my event graph to go to the MIDI note off. This is just turning off the harp note enabled on the piano.
Are you doing any voice tracking for the MIDI data to like make sure you're handling, or maybe you don't need to handle voices? I guess you have chords going in. What are the chord? What's the chord data look like are you getting?
So the chords, I'm getting like 4 notes.
Okay.
So here's where I'm like managing which notes are in the chord.
So are you splitting this out between the different voices? Like, is it across?
So it looks like.
Yeah, I'm sort of curious how you're.
It looks like I get 4 MIDI note ons, and then whenever I get one, I just chuck it into this chord voices map, and then I can light up the note that is now playing and turn it blue or whatever color. Is that your question?
But how is it going into the Metasound itself?
They're just all setting an in parameter that's the MIDI note, and then just calling a trigger to play the note.
Do you have an input for each voice? Is that what is happening, or yeah?
So yeah, well, I've got here's where I am converting the integer into, like, I gave it an octave and then passing it into each of the voices.
Mm-hmm.
So the note is just literally an integer coming in from the widget. And I'm just converting that to a frequency and giving it.
I understand that. I guess what I'm getting at is, like, are you splitting the 4 voices in the blueprint and then sending it to 4 different inputs? Is that what I'm? Is that?
Yes,
yeah,
yes. This
are you
handles
just
separately.
grabbing it, like, in order from, like, lowest to top or whatever? Like some sort of.
It's whatever the device gives me, right? Like this gets called for each individual note in the chord, and so it's just passing each individual note of the chord into the meta sound separately.
But you're receiving 4 different pitches for your chord
playback,
right? Yeah. So this function is routing it to different voices.
Yes. So
it's getting called 4 times, and then there's some sort of.
Yeah, I've got, so get next chord voice is going to choose the next voice. Okay. So in here,
it's just like a round robin.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
but it's like the inputs names so that you can pass the input name.
Yep. So I'm just grabbing the next voice that is in the round robin, appending it to the end of this string, passing that in as the name of the parameter. So yeah, it works nicely.
Yeah. So this is the thing that, by the way, this is like the challenge where if you want to get MIDI into a meta sound, there isn't a simple voice manager. You have to build a voice manager. That's sort of the challenge. And I have an old video where I made a voice manager in Blueprints. But voice management can get really complex, right? The audio engine itself is like a big part of it, a big chunk of it is voice management, right?
Yeah.
And there are different ways, like even if you look at synthesizer architecture, there's different modes and methods for handling voice distribution and voice stealing, which is a huge part of voice management. So yeah, I was sort of curious about that. Round robin's a great way to do it. Obviously, I think that's
it keeps it simple.
Yeah.
Do y'all have any other questions? I think that covers pretty much everything in here. It was a fun project. Just kind of got to put all my knowledge of the view models and the meta sounds.
Yeah, this is really rad. This is really, really cool.
Thank you.
The drum samples are perfect.
Well, had a little bit of help there, but it'd be cool to clean this up, and actually publish it or make it a resource, but I'd have to refamiliarize myself with it, as you can tell. I'm
or lessons learned. How would I do this again, from the start? Kind of, those are always really useful as well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
The tricky thing, like this was using an old version of the TechAudioTools Content plugin.
Yeah.
Because it was around when 5.7 came out, I think, and we had still a couple months until it came out on Fab. So I think I would have to kind of rework a lot of things, and not sure I really want to do that yet. So maybe later this year or something.
I mean, I feel like you've done a lot of work on the TechAudioTools Content plugin to make things very simple to implement. And I feel like even if it's just like, oh, I grabbed a couple extra widgets from this project and I just sort of upgraded them to the same level of ease that the rest of the TechAudioTools Content plugin has, I think that'd be cool too.
Yeah, totally.
Because there's this, like that one, the frame for like each that widget is a great example of a widget that it's kind of like it's fitting. You got to make it like from scratch. It's such a cool widget. that
Yeah,
it's
like having more
great
layout
for-
options and stuff would be nice. Or like,
Yeah.
it's nice how this one just has like a an input for a bus, and then like it has a meter, and it's all set up for you to go.
Yeah, like this doesn't have to be like a synth voice. It could be like, oh, this is a layer in your gun,
Yeah, or it
meta
doesn't
sound or whatever.
doesn't even have to be a Metasound related widget.
Yeah, but it should be.
I mean, sure. Any bus that you want, you could. It would work.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, this is all. I'm just browsing through a little bit. This is just analyzer stuff for that meter.
Yeah.
I'm pretty proud of this actually. Like it takes a second to re get into how I laid it out, but it's pretty well like divided up so that it's reusable.
Can you go through that analyzer part one more time in terms of just how that's set up? It's part of UE. I've never really bothered to use.
Okay, so the analyzer is I use the loudness analyzer class. There's a few different ones. We've got loudness. There's LKFS, constant Q, and I guess meter would be another one. I haven't used that one. I usually stick to loudness, but LKFS is a newer one. I had a hand in helping get that one in.
I think the meter is just the old VU meter timing one that we have everywhere.
Okay. You need to give it some settings, and I think there's been some work done to try and make these settings more customizable. Because I think, I meant to construct object. I don't know if it's possible, like, to make an instance of the settings here, loudness settings. Hey, look at that! It's been added now. So now, if you want to, you should be able to like set different parameters on here, where previously you couldn't. And I'm not.
That's cool. So that suggests maybe people could sort of have tuning options on their widgets.
Yeah, if you want your meters to be more responsive or less responsive, like have a longer window or something.
That's cool.
It should be in the settings. And again, I'm not 100% sure if all of these have been exposed. Maybe the LKFS one is, but
are they assets otherwise? Like, is that
no? They're not assets. They're just U objects that you can construct. I think this is one area where we kind of need to improve the blueprint exposure a little bit, but it works well enough for this. So all I had to do here was create it, and then I'm binding to the loudness results. And so this is going to update. I don't know what the update rate is, and that's probably a setting. Actually, it might be like every 100 milliseconds or something.
Right.
And so that's going to give you an array of loudness results, and each one of these elements in the array is going to have different values. Loudness being one of them. There's also normalized loudness, perceptual energy, and then like the time. And so you can just use the loudness or the normalized, whatever you prefer.
Mm-hmm.
I went with loudness, and then I took the float, put it into a meter channel info struct, which is what the widget wants, right? So once I convert all the floats into channel info for the meter, I just set it on the widget, and then I clear it so that it can reset itself for the next 100 milliseconds or whatever interval comes in. So each time this gets called, it's going to update the level on the widget.
Cool.
You do have to have a submix for it. And that was kind of a gotcha I think I bumped into, and like it wasn't working, and I wasn't sure why, and then I went in the code and I found it was looking for a submix. So I just set it to the default submix. I don't think it matters really at all. Maybe just one that's not important, or I don't know.
Wait. So you have an audio bus, right?
Yes.
So so it's analyzing the audio bus, but it requires a submix for unknown reasons.
Reasons that I'm not. I looked it up back a while ago, but I couldn't tell you now.
That's interesting.
It just needed it, so
Yeah.
I gave it one.
All right. Maybe it's
and
vestigial. Yeah.
It could be, yeah. Maybe it was like submix analyzing, and then they expanded to all audio buses. I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, and then you just call start analyzing, and probably should have a stop analyzing on destruct, probably. Yeah, here. Unbind from everything, clear the channels. Yeah, it's not too difficult to get a meter up and running. I guess the only confusing part is probably like when you get the array of stuff here, it's like, what does that all mean?
Yeah.
But you can just pack it into a channel, meter channel info.
See, I feel like this is this work needs to. We've had discussions. I think so. After the TechAudioTools Content plugin came out, I remember having conversations with Aaron. Maybe it was even on stream, but about the audio widgets library and maybe revisiting that to sort of fix up some of the work, because I feel like it's a little bit inconsistent. Like, for example, the oscilloscope is like dead simple. You just give it an audio bus and say start and stop. It's very simple. And I feel like we could get the meter to that stage, with some work.
Yeah, like here you can just set the audio bus and you've got all of the settings exposed here.
Yeah, 100%. That's really slick.
I think like the vector scope is those are similar. It's the ones that are in audio material that the meter that you need to convert it to like a float.
Yeah.
But I assume this just the oscilloscope just has the analyzer built in, kind of how I have it in Blueprint, but just everything is native, so that's always really nice.
Yeah. Cool.
Anyway, that does it for me. I don't want to take up all the time, so.
No, this was great. I knew that yours would be a little bit of a walkthrough. I had that feeling, and I also remember it was cool and it'd be fun to show off. So,
yeah.
Thank you thanks for sharing. Yeah.
I think sometimes with these things, you kind of need to see someone has implemented the whole thing to understand where you want to use it. One of the problems I've always found with teaching people meta sounds or teaching them like when they're used to a very like preset driven sort of workflow is like, but where, like, how do I change things? And I'm always like, well, you can set it up to do that, but understanding what it looks like when it's finished being set up, I think is one of the superpowers of something like this, which is a very like editor driven workflow that isn't immediately obvious because it doesn't exist and it isn't there to start. So, once this is available or something like this is available, or you're seeing people use it, you go like, oh, okay, I can make something that does that. And whether it does all of that or it just does some portions of that, then that improve the UX, I think is really powerful. But it is really hard to do that if you don't know what's possible. So I think this is really showing people what's possible, and that's really powerful.
I feel like one of the things that I fall into or I get challenged by, maybe it's just the way my brain works, but sometimes I have difficulty if the connection between things isn't clear. Like, even if I roughly understand this thing happens and then this thing happens over here, if I don't know how they connect, it bothers me. Like, it's sort of, and my brain wants to fill in the gaps, and that always makes me a little bit nervous. And it sometimes sometimes I'll go into like a tutorial or a follow along or something like that, and on the outset, because I'll have these gaps, it'll take me at least a run through of the tutorial just to sort of fill in the like spaces, and then have to take the tutorial again to actually understand how this is how you make it work. Like, it's one thing, like I need to understand it before I feel like I have a solid grasp on making it work. But that could just be a me thing.
I think that's an everyone thing. Trying to make sure we understand how something works. And I think one of the worst things is when something starts working before you understand how it works. And then you're sitting there going like, I do I stop because it's working, or do I break it by trying to make it work even though it is working? That gets bad.
There's nothing more nerve-wracking than when you start compiling expecting bugs and you don't get any.
Yeah, usually like there's problems somewhere. What do I need to do
I don't
to make
trust
the
this.
problems? I hate it sometimes too, because when you get the better you get at blueprinting, the further you get without needing to test.
Yeah.
And you know, I know like you want to test often, you want to test as much as possible, but there is also times where you're like, I should just accept that I know that it's going to work because that's how it works at this point. And then you get to some point where it really shouldn't be working, and is, and you're like, oh no.
Do you want me to go next, or you want to go?
Up to you, man. It's your stream.
All right, I'll take the next thing here and do the thing, and then I share, and we ask, is there echo? And you test.
Blah blah blah.
We good?
Hello.
We're good. Cool.
I don't think you're on the. Yeah, we're good.
What? Do you hear it?
No, we're good.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't on the screen yet, so I don't think.
Well, no, we would hear it while I was backstage.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah. Cool. So I have been working on now I'm getting distracted by chat. Oh, the sound effects guy wants an encore of how the audio meter works. So just keep that in mind.
Okay. I gotta.
I've been working on something I don't think anyone's asked for, but so last time I shared expanding my oscillator, my homegrown oscillator, to add different kinds of oscillator sync and sort of fun sound design space to sort of dig into. This time around, I started messing around with audio logic, which has been something that I've been wanting to mess around with because I come from the modular synth space with this concept, and it's basically like, you know, control voltage is effectively audio voltage, just with a different purpose. And in modular synths, you have logic blocks, and they're usually something like, if the signal's positive, then it's true, and if the signal's 0 or negative, then it's false. And they're usually expected to work with gate signals, which are usually one, like positive, full positive, or 0 voltage. And so, but this is definitely a hammer in search of a nail. And I have spent some time these past couple nights trying to come up with something that isn't just is a little bit more compelling, but I don't think I really reached it. So strap in.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. But let me show you some of the weird nodes and some of the stuff that I still have yet to do or mess around with. So I'm just going to open up a blank meta sound here and not name it like Chaos Agent. So where to start? So the first one I made was a comparator. And the way that this node works is it provides a positive signal or a 0 or negative signal if the condition is true or false. And all it is the audio amplitude between these two values. And that's all it does. So, for example, if I put a sine wave in, and we'll make it go real slow, and one sort of hacky thing I have noticed is I can do something like this, where we get to vector scopes, and realizing that This might be loud, so we'll make them small. But yeah, so I've got a sine wave at 1 hertz going in, and basically I'm saying, hey, if the audio input signal is between 0 and 1, knowing that this signal is outputs between -1 and 1, when it's between 0 and 1, output true result, and when it's not, output a false result. And the false result basically is 0 when bipolar is false, and -1 when bipolar is true. So, and I put this under, I sort of snuck this under the advanced drop down because normally you're just
smaller nodes.
Well, yeah, and normally you're just working with gate signals, which are just 0 or 1, or 0 or full, or whatever you want to put it. But yeah, so if we look at the waveform on the maybe we get a little faster here. Let's go like 10 hertz. Maybe look at that. We get some. Okay, I guess I'll have to play around with trying to find a let's go with 50. Let's see what that.
One's plugged in their guitar.
I think it's you're getting okay. Hold on a second. I didn't think that. Okay, here's what I'll do is I'll so you can see the oscilloscope that I'm sort of hovering over is basically outputting a square wave. I made this so quiet. Maybe it would be better actually. Let me remove share sound.
Thank you.
Let me remove share sound. I realizing now that at least for the beginning, there's gonna showing these nodes is that you're not gonna want to hear them. So let me turn. Yeah, we'll not do share sound, and then they can be full signal, and only I will hear them. Okay, let's maybe make the source. Let's go.
What happens if you use the analyzer node? Like, does it show the full signal then?
Do I have my mains on? Oh, I do have my mains on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I did hear you. Yeah, yeah, we could use the analyzer node. That would require me making a preset.
No, it's a meta sound node.
Huh? What?
There's
a wait. Yeah. Hold on. Is there really?
Yes.
That's new.
What? It's not.
What do we got? What do we got? Is it in here?
Down on the bottom, yeah.
This?
I thought we. Oh, is it not the FFT analyzer? No. We had an analyzer in there. I swear it.
Yeah, those are the harmonics ones, I think.
These all look like spectral analyzers, except for this one.
I don't think it was going to give you a vector scope anyway, but I thought we had some analyzer nodes buried away in there.
Yeah. Anyway, maybe I can shrink this. Let's make this. Come on, let's do this, and we'll just get rid. Here we go. Get rid of this. So we don't need that.
There we go. That'll do.
I like the spectrogram, but we'll leave it. There we go. That's cool. Anyway, so let me make this. We'll see if we. One of the things that the problem here is that this is actually samples. I think this 0 to. I assume it's like 480 somewhere there. So it's hard to find a frequency timing that sort of static. There you go. You can kind of see that the comparator output, which is down here, is true when the sine wave's over 0. Cool. And obviously I can make it bipolar if I want something a little bit more like a pulse wave. Okay. And then these are dynamic values, right? So I basically can tune the threshold window between my ranges, which is, I know I'm receiving a -1 to 1 range, so I could just adjust my my knobs for those windows. And then I could adjust when, like where in the cycle, we get a true value. So in some ways, I'm creating a pulse wave that is informed by some other audio signal. This is a cycle, but it could be a wave that I'm playing, or it could be some other, output that I'm receiving. Okay, so
Real quick, Dan.
Oh yeah.
Drag off of the audio pin. I think you were searching. Just right click. You need to
Was
drag
that
off
just
the audio
do
pin.
one of these?
Yeah, right there at the top.
Oh, cool. Oh, sick.
It's not what you
we
want,
go.
but you can right click it as well. And there's options if you right click it. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in there.
No, I think this is what I want, right? No, why not?
There's not. You want a vector scope.
Oh,
yeah.
I see.
This is just going to give you the spectrum. But
should I have done a different one? Is there another one?
I don't think there is another one, but like this is what I was thinking of earlier, and I was hoping that there would be one that you could just plug in and see it there. It might be easier to demonstrate, but.
Yeah. It's a oscilloscope, maybe. No.
I mean, I think it would just be like up there at the top with the other one,
right?
Like a thing, or a right click option. But it'd be cool to have more options there.
Yeah, I think these are the kinds of things that are sort of driven by some specific request, and it just needs expansion. But cool. Right. So anyway, this is a comparator, and then in support of that, also I made a logic node. Sorry, logic spelled with an O. And the logic node is basically like I originally was going to split it out into multiple node types, but these are basically your Boolean nodes, and the advanced options here are similar to the comparator, but simplified in some ways. So obviously, it does it input or output a bipolar signal when we're talking about false. And then also, what is the threshold between positive and negative? So that's sort of, or true or false coming in. And it's basically take two audio signal inputs, and then it outputs when both audio signals are true, when either are true, or only when one or the other is true, and then the inversions of those. And so this allows you to, I guess I could add more more channels to our little analyzer here. But yeah, so we could do something like, let me have another set here, and maybe we could do something like a saw wave, which has a different shape, and we could give it a different frequency, maybe something off like that, and then we could take either the two raw we could take the two raw signals and then say check against them. Let me make the first two here are going to be our compared signals, and see if I can find something stable. It sounds really cool, actually. But effectively, we're only getting true output when both the signals are above the zero threshold. Yeah. And then if I fill out these other ones here, sort of get the worst surround Possible. You have different different emergent pulses. Let me see if I can get this closer to each other. Might be. It's just kind of hard to tune this. This.
It's
window.
better to look at the screenshot, honestly.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
If you can like freeze frame it, it's easier to see what it's doing.
No. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I guess I could do.
Post it on Blue Sky after.
Oh, I guess I did take some screen grabs before, didn't I? Hold on a second. Let me grab those. I shared it. Didn't I share it? No, I didn't. Oh, I did. I actually did a video. Anyway, I did actually have a video. Anyway, this is better. All you have to know is that there's this is the sort of crazy path I've gone down, and then and then I this is actually on just a couple nights ago. I added audio to trigger, and a trigger to audio. Oh, I did pick the same trigger to audio. There we go. That's what happens when they have the same keywords. So, and basically, similarly, a threshold for what is considered on or off, and what is the output of on or off. But yeah, so the idea here is you got an audio signal coming in, and the audio signal could then be utilized. Basically, all of this stuff, all of this logic stuff is like how gates work in modular synthesis, because they're using voltage for control signals, and so this pair of nodes is basically designed to incorporate that sort of design approach into the meta sound system, which is much more trigger driven. And so, like we have triggers in modular synthesis, but they are basically instantaneous pulses of a gate. And so this is just allows you to then do things like, when the audio signal, like for example, you could have a comparator where it's like 0.95, and when the amplitude is in this very small window, then it outputs a true signal, and that could play, like you could play a sound when the amplitude is specifically in this window range, right? Or it could be when several comparators are all true at the same time.
Yeah. Those are really nice. The audio to trigger.
Yeah. And they were dead simple to make, like honestly. They were really basic.
Is it just the threshold that's in there?
Yeah, so the threshold is on the audio to trigger, and then I have the bipolar option for the trigger to audio. So, because it's like, what does on and off mean?
Yeah.
I could do discrete values, but I felt like this was sufficient, because anything else can be done with we have the audio map function. So it's not too hard to customize your transformations. Now, one of the things that this is where I will share audio.
Yeah, you have to let us hear this.
Yeah. Well, this. You want to hear this?
Yeah, let's hear this.
Okay. Well,
just give us a taste. Not,
Okay.
Don't blow our speakers.
That's right. All right. Let me reshare here. There we go. go. That. Doop. Boop. All right, let me turn it down first as a kindness.
Thank you.
And then there you go.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do a lot of crazy stuff in here, but yeah, I have some create some pretty wild, like, well, some experiments that are more interesting than others, but obviously I've been sort of doing some stuff here. Anyway,
Sweet.
Yeah, so one thing that I wanted to, oh yeah, there's one other node that I created. This was actually last night. I'm just cranking this Metasound nodes out.
You better slow down.
But I made a audio. I made a MIDI to frequency converter for audio signal at audio rates, so I could have an audio signal come in with MIDI pitch values, and
that's cool.
Yeah, so it's like, because it's just it's just numbers, right? So I convert them from semitones to hertz. And I added to my main oscillator here, I added a like pure add hertz frequency mod. So it will take the base frequency and add an audio rate frequency change in hertz rather than in like full scale modulation. And so so what I have here is I have oscillators that have been given. By the way, if you're familiar with Frequency Central's it's called Little Melody, I think is called. It's a node for Frequency Central, and they're actually, it's Frequency Central UK, which has the great acronym of FCUK, but but Frequency Central is a modular manufacturer, and they have a node called Little Melody. And it's very similar to this design. And the way that it works is they have, in their case, 4 oscillators. I have 3 oscillators here. And they're given a sort of, you can sort of give them different timings. But they get, they're basically pulse waves that, in this case, you can see here, I'm using the mono mixer. So I've got these 3 oscillators. They're all on square wave. And so what's happening is they're going into this mono mixer, and this mono mixer is, remember that gain is a multiplier. So I've got this signal that's either, -1 to 1 or 0 to 1. And I'm multiplying that signal by some value, and I'm treating this as semitones units. So this signal is going to be oscillating up and down 5 semitones, and this signal is going to be oscillating. And so basically what's going to happen is, as I mix these signals together, and then I have a static signal, it's literally just 48. Don't put this out through your speakers. That, you want to hear that. And then I've got a sample and hold, and then it's going into this audio rate MIDI converter, and going into my oscillator, and then I've got my little audio to trigger, going through a little trigger mixer for the sample and hold, and also triggering some audio and filter envelopes. And so so this is like basically it's a kind of procedural way of making melodies, but the way that because of this oscillation function, there is a kind of like this natural repetition or cycle that happens, and with the semitone assignment to these oscillation values, you get a natural, it lets you sculpt little like stepped melodies, because these combine at different frequencies. They combine in different ways,
Right.
and then the combinations of these semitones result in some output, like final semitone output, that's then converted to frequency. So let me just play what I got here. This is whatever I left it out when I was playing around, messing around with it. Now I could change the size of these steps. Let's say it's just. I could give one. We could do something like this. Or
so funny that you change gain values and the pitches change. Like,
right?
It's just like
it's weird, right? Okay. It's because it's mixing notes. So then I can also change, which ones have which sort of rhythmic elements. Like I could do, let's do 1 there, and we could do 8. I think maybe I didn't do another one. Yeah, there we go. So we could. And I get sort of like an interesting, because my square wave's a little funky square wave, and so I could say, well, this one, I just want this one to drive my triggers, so I could just sort of clear these out and get. And there's that cycle. And this is all made of these are all major thirds. So you got to dip into your MIDI note library in your head. But
these aren't MIDI notes.
These are intervals. This is a major second. This is a perfect fourth. This is a perfect fifth. Now we could also take one of the other ones, one of the slower ones, or I could do something like this where I'm just taking the onset. For different rhythms. Anyway, this is, it's kind of wacky. But it's kind of a different way of interacting with music, I guess.
It certainly is.
I feel like I need a flow chart for how it's happening. I love the idea. Like, I think it's a cool way to do. Yeah, it's definitely a cool way to do procedural music and thinking in terms of these impulses and the reaction to impulses at different times and the modulation of impulses. But it's definitely I guess because it's just so different for what the tools that you're using to develop the impulses, a bit harder to understand. But then, you're seeing them fire off. Like, it does make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, like, speaking of impulses, these are all squares, but I could go with like a pulse where it's like 0.2, and then. So you get this different distribution of onset and offset. And this is through the XOR out, so we're also getting comparison, some logic output that is also a signal there. Anyway.
Could make it really weird and start modulating the floats.
Say it again?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, exactly. I was playing around with that here, actually. That's exactly what I was doing here. I have an LFO modulating the width of the signal to sort of add a little bit of something to it. But anyway, so this is kind of the weird rabbit hole that I've been going down. Just kind of a different way of thinking about logic. Like a lot of, there's, a lot of stuff that we've sort of curated in Metasounds for certain approaches to procedural music. And this is just a little bit different way of doing things. The little melody, by the way, that, if you work it out, you could figure out what the intervals are going to sound like in the order they're going to sound like, right? So it's more like procedurality through obfuscation, because it's like I don't actually, because it's a little too complicated to sort of work out, unless you sit down.
It's basically phase music, sort of like
yeah.
Just a different way of thinking about it.
Yeah, and with the logic stuff, I could have a train of these, and lots of different oscillators, and complicate the input into this in the system.
But I guess you could also simplify it by having a note array that you're just stepping through or something, and using that for the timing, but having your pitch class set sort of Stockhausen approach to composition that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there aren't really this is me doing explorations. There could be a whole bunch of different ways to sort of apply some of this stuff. That's kind of what the fun of utilities, and I think it's utilities in modular synthesis are kind of boring when you like on paper and you're just looking at them in isolation. But when you put them in context of the system, they can do things that you hadn't thought of before.
I'm definitely finding that just playing with the logic stuff on the ARP is, I don't think about it, and I haven't really used logic gates before and didn't really understand why. But I'm reading this patch book, and it's just like, plug this thing in, and then all of a sudden, like, a completely different instrument, and I was like, oh, so now I'm starting to understand that thing of, sometimes you just need to plug something into something else, and sometimes it's really, really cool. And maybe I think the nice part about what you're doing here is that with the analyzers and with your meters and things, like you can work out why it's doing what it's doing, and it doesn't need to be like always a mystery that it's doing something weird,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it could be. And you can add stochasticism, in various places. Like I could have, one of these doesn't have to be an oscillator; it could be a noise generator, and I could be sampling the noise, at a specific rate. We could use like a trigger repeat and convert that into a signal. Like one of the things that I was kind of instantly something that maybe is not obvious, but like when you have a gate signal, it is actually just a rudimentary envelope, right? It's like a zero release sustain envelope. And you can very easily get do I have somewhere around here? I should name these. No, that's not one. Anyway, I that's where maybe this is one. Square. I guess we just see what happens. Yeah, I don't even know how this one's working. Oh, this was just using the regular random note values with the note scale. So sort of more traditional, but then it's being driven by this pulse wave that you actually don't hear.
Have you shown Patrick this yet? Patrick's gonna flip out.
Yeah, I haven't. I mean, I think I posted some stuff in the off-site, but yeah.
But it's cool. It's like one of those things where the one thing I always love about watching your patches is like you can see that the thing that's new is a very small part of the patch, but then you build all this other stuff around it because you get inspired by it and you kind of keep going, and that's why like they sprawl out into this big thing, and the thing that's driving it all is usually a small sort of central bit, and then there's lots of effects that are coming off of it, and that's kind of the pro and the con of visual scripting just in general, I suppose.
Yeah, I think there is a sort of exploration, like it is a kind of it's a frame of mind, right? It's like I don't even know what I'm going to do with this stuff. I have an idea of what it should look like because I'm familiar with it, maybe in modular synthesis. Or like in a patch book, I read about it, and I was inspired. And I was like, how can we get that in Metasounds? And for me, I don't know, the Metasound, like making a simple Metasound node is really fast. Like I've gotten pretty quick at it. because the boilerplate's actually, once you get the boilerplate down, it's like, oh yeah, it's pretty fast. And so it's such an easy environment to explore these things. Like I recently did buy some new modules. I haven't plugged anything in. I sort of like got another project at the same time, but like it's gonna take me a while to get these plugged in so I can play around with them. This is a mini Moog filter cloned by Usynth. Yeah, and then I have a this is a both of these I got off of Reverb because they're a little bit hard to find. This is Rings implementation for 5U, which is, it's really hard to, the mutable instrument stuff is really cool, and it's really hard to find. They have clones galore in Eurorack, but getting 5U ones is really difficult. And the guy that runs this company, Free State FX, is basically not really making stuff anymore, and so it's a lot of the 5U stuff is opportunistic. A lot of small shops, one-person shops, basically,
right,
that are doing some commissions or specialty work, and usually short run. So. Anyway, yeah, so that's what I've been messing around with, is like Audio Logic type stuff.
That's cool.
When can we get our hands on them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm always happy to go, do a code dive, but I have been floating the idea to myself of like putting stuff on a GitHub that people can check out, but it depends on the reasons, and some stuff sometimes I'll do this stuff and I'll be like, hey, Aaron, check this out, or whatever, someone at work. And then people will want it. And so then there's like a motivation to try to make it an official thing.
Sure.
So I don't know. That's the answer. The reason I haven't done GitHub stuff is a lot of my showcases are educational focused, and I don't think that it's good for people to get in a mindset of following along and not thinking about what they're doing. It's something you got to be conscious of when you're doing a tutorial, that you're not just mimicking what you're seeing. You're trying to understand what you're seeing. That's really important. It helps. Sometimes you do the follow along and you look at it afterward. It's kind of like taking notes. Like, you don't have to think about notes. You can write it and then it doesn't necessarily hit. But there is a kind of like conscious studying that needs to be done if you want to learn something. And I've had people who are just like, give it to me. And it's like, no, like, I'm not going to know. I did a whole tour. I spent 40 minutes just walking through the thing. You do it. Like, you should have all the tools now.
I get that all the time, like whenever I make YouTube videos where I skip over parts of code because I don't want to show them, not because I care about it being insider knowledge or something, but more just because I would like them to work out the problem that I had to go through to get there, because that's what I'm actually trying to teach you. It's just I'm trying to teach you that by proxy inception style, so that you sort of have the idea of how to solve it, and then you're like, I did it. And I'm like, yeah, you did. You did it all by yourself. Look at you go. It's challenging when you've got sometimes you have to add scaffolding to show the thing that you want to show, and the scaffolding is sometimes it's better learned somewhere else. Sometimes it's like, oh, you don't want to see what I did here, or this isn't recommended. I've had that issue sometimes working on sample projects with Epic, where it's like there's cleanup work. Sometimes, like for example, the Matrix Awakens is a great example, where it's like we made that to ship a demo on next gen platforms, and then later we were like, okay, now we got to clean this up for the city sample. And there have been projects that I worked on where I argued
adamantly against doing a sample project because I was like, there's no way anyone should do anything like this in production. And that's just because Epic likes to do things to flex that are not necessarily what you want to do in an actual project. It's called hard mode. Is there a way to quickly solo audio signal in Metasounds? Not yet. It's something we know is a challenge. The problem with the audio soloing is exactly like I showed today. I'm using audio. Like, what is the audio signal? Like, if I'm using the audio signal as semitones, you don't want that blasted through your speakers, right?
But I think, like, ideally, I'm totally on Crisp's side
Crispy?
of
Yeah.
wanting just solo the audio output at the pin that I'm hovering over. Like,
Yeah.
if it's bad semitone stuff, okay,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like, I don't care. It's that's on me. It's bad semitone stuff anyway. If I plug it into a mixer and listen to it, like, to try and solo it, so it doesn't feel like. I mean, I'm going to click on audio stuff way more often than I'm going to click on audio trigger semitone stuff. But yeah, sometimes you just blow your speakers out, and that's what happens. So
Yeah, I mean that's I think a lot of musicians have some amount of partial hearing loss because they auditioned something at full volume without realizing what that meant.
I got something the other day when I was listening. I was trying to record a really, really quiet sound with my sound devices and had the headphones up, and then the low battery warning popped in at full volume, and I was like, "Thank you so much for that." My ears hurt 40 minutes later.
Yeah, that's the worst is when you've got like a very detailed signal that you need to get really up there, and then the ecosystem mix is not accommodating. It's like when I install Windows or whatever, I have to go in and turn off all of the notifications because I don't want any operating system sounds. I don't want any notifications from any of my browsers. I want absolute control over what audio signal comes out of these speakers. Yeah. Cool. So I don't know, David. You want to take a look at your thing?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Are we going straight to the source here? Nice.
Okay. Oh, my I get cut off there. Oh well. Okay. Hold on. So the point of this
Tea room.
I was waiting for you to comment on that.
I didn't realize my face would go, but of course it does. Oh, that's all right. So the idea here is that there's systems. Oh, does it? Hang on, I might be on the wrong. Oh, there. That's why. Let me just move this. There we go. So the thing that happens in games a lot is you have like chatter systems. So you have something like you're walking around the world and there's some NPCs around you need to like say something about the world. You know, they need to say like, oh, have you seen that thing or have you done this thing or whatever?
Have you been to the perennial tea room?
I've been to the perennial tea room. I should have really made this about that. And so I've been playing with some RPG systems recently, and one of the ones I've been thinking of is how to do that chatter stuff more procedurally, just because I'm not really interested that much in what the lines are and the performance of the lines and stuff right now.
Right.
I just need some stuff that speaks from the right people and does something. And so I've been building this graphical system, which has some dialogue nodes. So this is a whole dialogue asset by itself.
Yeah.
The dialogue graph asset that you can
can't.
make.
Whereas our icon, our like avatars are obfuscating the content browser.
Oh, that's. Let me see if I can move us to over here. And there we go. Leave that there. So, so these are dialogue graph assets. So I think you make them either through. Did I make a thing? Yeah. Dialog graph asset, and you
This
get
is like a custom asset factory that you've made.
Custom asset factory. It takes a whole lot of stuff. So it takes all this editor code to get this to work.
Nice.
It takes nodes and schema and styles and utilities and assets and actions and all sorts of stuff. And I've learned a lot from doing it. It's got little bugs, obviously, because stuff like if you reopen them, they can tend to be like all bunched on top of each other because I like haven't saved where they are, or if you add new entries, like some previous entries get wiped and things like that. But that's just editor stuff that I'll work out at some point. But the idea here was I was interested in the smart objects system in Unreal, which is, if anyone's not sure what that is, it's kind of, you're walking around the world and there's like the quintessential example of there's a bench, and NPCs know that they can walk up to the bench and sit down on the bench, and they can get off the bench and go somewhere else. And I started implementing, I'm not going to show gameplay stuff because it's not really ready yet, but the idea was that I would have like conversation points that you would go to, and that was like smart objects. So they would walk up to a bench, they'd sit on a bench, and they would sort of enter a waiting state, waiting for a conversation. And if they didn't get a conversation, so if they didn't get a conversation partner or people didn't come up to them in time, they could get given their own conversation, which would be like a one-person conversation. And it might be something like, oh God, I just don't know if I can go to work. Or maybe they'll just whistle or something. Or maybe they'll get a phone conversation.
So lonely.
Yeah.
Someone talk to me, please.
Exactly. And you can get kind of funny with it. Or the other side of it would be you might get a two-person conversation. So one other person comes to sit down and they get a conversation that they could talk about the news or the weather or something. Right. And if you got multiple 3-person, 4-person, whatever it might be, I wanted to give them a conversation. Now, that's sort of a different system of working out how many people are in the conversation node, and then what are the types of people there. So if there's like, two friends and 2 strangers, or 3 old guys and a little girl talking about playing with the park or something, and you could give them a contextual conversation, or you could give them a conversation that is just a random thing. And this idea here was like so that you could reuse conversations and have them be different for different people, so that, because I'm all using text to speech at the moment, this is a useful idea. Once you sort of get to dialogue where you're actually recording it, maybe it becomes a little bit more expensive because you're re-recording the same lines for different people. But the idea here was that you would have like conversation, and your basic conversation may just be like this top row here, where it's like just a linear conversation where it's like the green one here is a different character. So, character A says a thing, character B says a thing, character A says a thing, then they say something else, and then they say something else. And that might be the end of the conversation. But this means now if I give any 2 people the conversation, they can get assigned A or B, and then they can speak A or B, and they can have a conversation that's realistic because it makes sense.
Right.
And then I started thinking, that's kind of cool, but what about that's a system that works in Final Fantasy VII Remake, does this thing where you finish a quest, and when you finish a quest, everybody in the town like starts talking about it like instantly, which feels a little bit weird, but is a cool way to do dialogue in the game, because they're like, oh my God, did you see that? Wow, that guy was so dangerous. Oh, that was whatever. And I started thinking about like, well, what about including some tasks or some facts about them? So if they're an old person, or if they're a young person, or if they like the rebellion faction, or if they don't like them, like maybe they could have some different options, but then keep the same flow. So this would be like, if you are positive about this Emma character, like if the person that's saying the line, or I suppose this person, if they're, no, actually it is the first person, so maybe I've messed that up a little bit. But if they're positive about it, then this person replies with the positive line, and then goes back and continues on. And if they're negative, they reply with the negative line and then continue on. And this kind of gives us nice behavior now where I can give this to two different sets of people and they can have effectively the same conversation, but have some contextual appropriate responses where they're like, oh,
Right.
yeah, I like this or I don't like this. And it feels like a different conversation because you can start doing things like, well, what about if it's a different time of day? You know, should they go through a different path? And these don't actually all have to end up at the same point. Like this doesn't need to be connected.
Right.
And the conversation will just end after this one.
Yeah.
And there doesn't need to be anything. Obviously, it's really hard to write dialogue that works this way because you've got systems where you're trying to get things connected, and the inputs at the moment are a little bit odd. But each of these nodes can have random dialogue lines in it as well, so you don't have to say exactly the same thing. You have like each of
like
these
a little
is
pool of like similar responses, basically.
Yeah, there was this, I can't remember what talk it is, and I've been looking for it again, but there was a talk where it's like a yes and system. So the idea was that a bunch of army guys are walking around, the battlefield, and one guy will say something like, "Oh man, this place reminds me of home." Right? And then what happens is like a question kind of goes out and says, hey, does anyone want to talk about home? Do they want to talk about places? Do they want to talk about
was
their
that
past?
I think that was that the Left 4 Dead. Was it Left 4 Dead? Maybe
it was definitely an army thing. So I'm thinking it was like maybe it was like Company of Heroes or something. It wasn't COD and it wasn't Battlefield. I remember that much, but it was something else in that space. And it was an interesting idea because one person says, man, this place reminds me of home. And then someone else responds with, like, I can't wait to get back home.
Right.
And that's like
home becomes like a subject, like in the error or whatever. And
then someone else could reply with like, we've been walking all day. Right.
If it was Call of Duty, it would be press F to remember home.
Yeah, exactly. It's really tricky to get chatter that doesn't become really boring because you've heard it.
I know I brought up the Valve thing, but the Left 4 Dead did have something like that where because you have your squad of characters and they wouldn't always be around all the time. And so different characters would have different responses for common subjects. I'm pretty sure that was...
Yeah, I mean, it sounds pretty... it sounds pretty useful, I think, when it comes to... I have some basic things to talk about, and it doesn't really matter what people are going to respond with. It just matters that they have an appropriate response, and it's not just really odd. And this also means that you kind of rethink the concept of conversations into a conversation design, and you start thinking like, well, what are some conversations that people could respond to that would be interesting? So like if a person starts talking about if this first note is like, man, I can't believe what happened last night. And then it's like, we can go off and say like, what's the, the person that's responding could say something completely different, could say something all about, how late they worked or something. Right. And you have something appropriate because that conversation only occurs if they're co-workers or if they're workmates talking to each other. And so I've added these like tags to add and tags to remove, or just blueprint functions that can be run when you hit the specific node. So for instance, if I wanted to put them in an animation because I want them to be annoyed about something and I want them to do an annoyed thing, I can give them an action, which would be a blueprint like a blueprint script that runs because you hit this node.
Right.
So we know that we're doing a thing. Or I could give them a fact, which was just a gameplay tag wrapper for the fact that they have done, or like that character has visited this node, so that then
like a
next
flag
time, Yeah.
for
It's
the
like
logic.
next time they've already talked about this.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
So they shouldn't respond, or like we know they've talked about it, so maybe we codify that as part of their character and we have them talk more about that because they're being radicalized or something. Like you could build a kind of affinity system into the back end of this where you could have it so that, if you're always hearing them talk about this, or you could have a conversation, like you can build a conversation tree object off of this where you say, you're actually doing dialogue choices, because I started out with a system to do dialogue choices, and then I was like, oh, this gets a little bit hard to do, which is why you can see, for instance, I have like required tags is a way to discern random lines. So I could have a bunch of random lines that only work at certain times of day, and I could have the required tags being what time of day it is.
I feel like this is a constant tension when you're trying to create ambient dialogue systems, and you want the flexibility of like being able to just grab off of a database, some huge database of like lines, and just be like, this is a contextually appropriate line, while maintaining the structure of like the linguistic structure and the social structure of a conversation, right? Because like conversations it is basically a complex social interaction, and there's constraints on what are appropriate responses to things, right? And so I feel like there's those are two different directions in like very structured, right? Versus just a random cloud of statements. And I feel like that's a very challenging intersection to try to bring together.
Yeah, especially because something I've worked on a lot of dialogue systems, so I'm trying to, just address the pain points of the last one that I worked on. And one of those pain points was the single source of truth, trying to make sure that you only have one spot where the lines exist. So for me right now, it's just a Google sheet with this, but that's just where this starts, so that you can have collaborative editing and all that kind of thing. And then this is actually exposed to a link that I will then pull in every day, or whenever the editor opens, I can pull in and make a table of lines so that you can use those. So it means like if you want to use specific lines, because these have their own tags of what they're allowed to be or not allowed to be, you can kind of go in, set up my data table of lines, give it a line ID, or maybe it's the row ID. Maybe I'll do it in this one actually. But you give it a line ID, and that line ID will give it the correct line, and then it can be localized and it can be used for the right language and all that kind of thing as well. And we know what line they're kind of up to, which is also handy for if you're waiting to do things, or if you want to drive a conversation that way. And it's a really tricky one, because it means that you also need to build many conversation assets, which is probably the weak point, but also like kind of necessary in a way, of these conversation assets. So this is like one of the editor bugs at the moment. Like you gotta sort of gotta do this, because I haven't worked out all the parts of the visual scripting just yet. But I feel like when I work with designers, they want something that they could test and that they can use, and this felt like a very clear way to do that, because I'm giving them the flexibility to change the line at this specific node, give it to a different character, and do whatever. And then the blueprinting I have is super duper basic. It just basically gets given when we get given a dialogue state, there's TTS there, and we like set up listeners for when lines are finished, and things like that, so that we can wait a little bit when they're finished, or jump in before they're finished, and stop talking on one person, start talking on the next person, and it can all clean itself up and do that. But I feel like there's probably some more things that I haven't yet considered in this setup. But I was just keen to share it and see
Yeah, that's
what people
awesome.
kind of think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
This
cool.
is cool.
I am sorry. I did ask earlier if this was if you had been, because there's an EdGraph tutorial that I have. It's like a 3-part tutorial that I have on my YouTube like list of tutorials that I want to get around to, which just grows. And it's I was just curious if that sounds familiar to you.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few tutorials. I actually looked a lot of the deformer graph to find out how to do things, because the deformer
Interesting.
graph was like one of the sort of least built out graph utilities I could find.
Mhm.
There's probably others as well, but I was more familiar. I was trying to do a thing a while ago where I could like get deformer graph and work out if I could do physics sounds with the deformer graph, because I thought
Mhm.
that would be interesting. So I was familiar with that. So I tried to use some
That's
of
the
that.
chaos. Yeah, I know the graph you're talking about. I agree. That is also that's my flag of that system too. Is like the simplest implementation of EdGraph in the NG.
Mm.
Yeah.
Cody was asking, what text to speech am I using? So I have both the text to speech, Unreal's text to speech, which is like your basic beep boop sort of stuff, and then I have rolled my own in different versions, so I can do ML models and whatnot, and I don't want to pay 11 Labs for anything. So I that's kind of worth spinning up, but I didn't want to talk about it too
I
much.
think
But
especially when you're when you're in the prototype phase, you don't want to be spending money. You want just give you the free option, whatever the
yeah,
most affordable text to speech is. Yeah.
and it's also like I said before, I didn't really care that much about the quality of the text to speech, but I do want some different voices. One of the earliest games I worked on. I'm just trying to see if I can spin up this. Oh, I gotta get into my virtual environment. One of the earliest games I worked on had really dodgy text to speech, really really early, and so I've spent some time building my own one, so that I can just basically do a bunch of silly voices myself, and then have it do cached voices. I don't know if I have one or not. I've been working on this a fair bit, but yeah, the idea is, I think, you want to get some voices so that they are detailed enough that you can play with, but not okay, because it's not. I have to open the Docker container, but basically, yeah, you can hook it up to some different things. I would probably recommend getting a decent text to speech without wasting heaps and heaps of time on it, but having something that can do like a couple of different voices, a couple of different types of people, and just be consistent enough was really really helpful to me, because
Yeah.
it means that I can just focus on making sure that the system's built. Because the thing I've been stung with way too many times is like dialogue systems are built too late, and then they're really hard to sort of scale. And I was trying to build something that would both scale and also be able to be given, primarily solve that main first issue I talked about, which is getting people, different amounts of people, using smart objects and being able to talk about
Right.
the smart object or about the types of people they were. And I felt like this way you could spend a little bit of time writing like a big bunch of generic 2, 3, and 4 people conversations, and then you would have a world that just sort of has some conversations. It's maybe a little bit bad that you would get, I don't know, you get maybe the same conversation in too many
Right.
places.
Or you start recognizing like the flow pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I think the thing I've tried to get working really, really early was time of day and weather, and the character archetypes. Because if you have character archetypes, you may and you have enough diversity, they should generally respond right. But you definitely have the problem of if you've heard the conversations enough, you will know what the next line is. And I think that's definitely like a pretty big problem with this systemic approach to dialogue. But that being said, like, is that any different to a regular scripted line where you already know what the line is? So once you sort of get there.
Well, and I think there is a sort of, so to me, ambient, a big part of ambient design is world building, and that includes ambient dialogue, right? Like, that's a huge function that ambient dialogue plays in the experience. It makes the world, it adds a dimension to the world, and the understanding the social space, and brings context to the things that you're experiencing. And so I think it's really important to, like, that's where I feel like maybe something like this is really useful, because the flow patterns can be defined based on, particular contexts, or exceptions could be made, or your specific world sort of trends toward this to, social interaction. But I think that I think that's it's a key thing that it's very easily overlooked, because it's a background element, but it's a really important player in understanding in the user's experience and understanding the world.
Yeah, one of the parts that I haven't quite built out yet is building like a chooser table for the different conversation assets. At the moment, it's just picking random stuff, but I think the point of this should be giving people an appropriate conversation based on the type of people that they are or where they are in the world. Like, if they're in the slums, they shouldn't be talking about, the business trades or something. They should be talking about something else. And so you've got to try sort of think what area, like writing dialogue for a specific area, and then writing dialogue for different groups of people to talk about different things in those areas. Is it really, you can see where the explosion of assets happens. And then probably the hardest part of this idea is also just trying to convince people, like, hey, can we record all the same dialogue again 5 more times for some reason? Is a little bit tricky, but
although even that, there is a case to be made for variation, right? Like, it's like, how many times can I hear the same line from different thugs in, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's the identical script line, and it's like add-on cloud dialogue in, like, the recording session for the different voice artists.
Yeah, so that was my sort of concept.
That's cool. That's a really cool work in progress. Thanks for sharing.
Nice work so far.
I do feel really adamant about proper narrative being involved. Like, it's like, I agree that audio needs to be, especially if there's recordings involved, because it's not always the case, right? There's lots of really great story-driven games that have systems that have no actually recorded dialogue. Maybe they just have barks that support it, like that kind of stuff.
Beep speech.
Yeah, those are great. But like, I see too often these sort of creative directors who are like, anyone can write a game, and it's like, you need, like, this is its own skill, and it's needs to be prioritized. More writers in games. That's my.
I think we definitely need more writers, but the trickiest thing is getting writers to read their lines aloud. Like, not just because, lines look really good on the page when you're zipping through them, and you don't, you read them so much faster, but then, like, so many games fall into the trap of, like, the dialogue line is just so fucking long, and you're sitting there like, why nobody speaks like this? What's happening? It works when you're reading it, but it doesn't work when you're speaking it.
That's where I feel like temp dialogue is better than text to speech in some ways. Like, I think that there's a case to be made where you can have a line that only a good actor can deliver, right? Like, there's right, like, you can have a line that's like anyone but very good actors would just sort of it would dissolve. It would just be the worst. But I really like because I agree you need something to work with when you're doing the prototyping process. But I like there is something about temp dialogue. Like, you get the writers to come in, like you said, record their lines, and then they could sort of see it back. It's kind of like putting the mirror up.
Yeah. I mean, like it's hard to do. It's definitely hard to keep in mind, but there is a tendency, especially at the moment in games, there is a tendency to overtalk because budgets have gotten bigger for voiceover, and or at least commitments from artists have gotten bigger. So I mean, I was really stunned. I've just finished playing through or watching through the Last of Us 2, and I couldn't believe the difference between 1 and 2, where 1 was much more you solve your own puzzles, and 2 was like just never stopped reminding me about everything that was supposed to be happening in this exact moment. And like, I understand that there's a big reason for that, but one of the things that I've always really wanted to see in games, and I felt like this idea that I was talking about today was really triggered from God of War Ragnarok, where Atreus would like not let me solve a problem without just telling me. And I was like, yeah, no, I got it, buddy. Like, I have not even looked at anything yet. Like, just give me 1 second to look at it first. And I felt like the thing that I really wanted was this, I don't remember what the game's called. It's this Nintendo DS game about puzzle solving. But what happens was, if you are solving puzzles quickly, it should give you less hints because you're already doing it. So what I'm trying to do here is like, if you don't need the hint, you don't get it. And if you do need it, you get them earlier next time. Like, I'll help you. And what I'm trying to do is get a sliding window of the expected time to solve the problem. And then I want to actually keep you in the sliding window so that you're never spending too much time on a problem, but you're also not solving everything instantly because I'm telling you exactly what it is. And I think if there's a way to mediate that, then you end up getting the player sits in a space for the right amount of time and they do something cool and they're experiencing the world and they're really thinking through the problems. And then if they're having trouble, you can poke them and help them. But like, if I'm a good player that's able to solve puzzles, like the joy in solving the puzzles gets taken away from me if you just instantly tell me, hey, maybe you should throw your axe at that thing. Maybe we should try freezing it. Maybe over there, if we go over here and then pull this. It's like, I got it. Like, just give me a second.
I feel like that's a little bit of that sort of second screen problem that everyone's kind of having a challenge with right now, where folks' attention is diverted with whatever they're doing. And there's like that sort of famous that clause that was sort of exposed with Netflix, where it's like, you have to remind the person of the plot, X number of times, and like a certification process for Netflix movies on how often the plot needs to be re-exposed. And
it's a cool idea. Dusko Sound saying could be a custom setting. It's like definitely an accessibility feature.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I feel like that. Yeah, that's a great. We have those for combat, right? Like, it's like difficulty of combat, difficulty of puzzles. I like that idea. That's a cool one.
If they could have given me an Atreus slider, oh boy, I would have put it in. I would have worked out how to put it in the negatives. I feel so bad for the. Even the voice actor said he can't play it because he hears himself talk too much about it. And I found it weird because I'm like, aren't I your dad? Why are you helping me so much?
That reminds me of the Leisure Suit Larry story, where like Leisure Suit Larry was at the time like one of the top pirated games, but they made all of their money on the hint line, like because they'd call like a toll number to get hints on like how to solve the puzzles.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, it's that next level of player context, actually widening our understanding of player behavior, as opposed to like the instantaneous moment-to-moment player behavior. If they're not looking at the right thing right now, we've got to tell them, because otherwise they'll put down the controller and stop playing. Like, which is true, they will, and that's, like you said, there is a problem with second screen of people's attention span is terrible now, but I do feel like there's some opportunity here to have just an ability to turn that up and down. But probably by doing it dynamically, there's something that could be really cool there of working out how are people actually solving it? Are they getting the chance to have the tiniest bit of stress in their life before they get given the answer? You know,
I like experiencing the space in games. I really enjoy that aspect of it, and so it's nice when a game can give you that. Cool. Well, this is awesome. Thanks everyone for sharing. That was really cool.
Quite the variety tonight.
It was, It was kind of fun to have like a little surprises around every corner.
Just here's what we're working on. I think that's the coolest thing, where you can have tech sound designers all working on completely different things.
Yeah.
And that's if you talk to your local tech sound designer, you'll find the same thing. You'll ask them, and then they're like, "Actually, I was working out how decals work," and you're like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, I was messing with decals today. I agree, Stephen. Stephen talks about this, music. That's another, like, acoustic space or sonic space is also something to enjoy in games as well when it's done, when it's allowed. All right. Thanks. Yeah, Stephen, thanks for joining Dusko Sound, the sound effects guy. Cody Pilar from South America. Thomas Scott. And then someone I've forgotten. Oh, Crispy, of course. Crispy. There we go. Yeah, Crispy. Thanks everyone for hanging with us tonight. We'll see you later. Yeah. Night.